It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. You're live with Expresso. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been such an informative show, a real growth path today. And we've all been there, I think. We decide that we need to start saving. And for the first few months, we make some sacrifices and save what we can. But then the car and the stove pack in, the kids need to go on a school trip. And just like that, our savings are depleted. Despite our best efforts, South Africans still have a very weak savings culture, and reports showing that only 3% of the population have a savings account in 2018. That's crazy. This morning, I'm joined by Sisandile Kido from Nedbank, who is here to unpack the psychology of saving and how we can all be better savers. So we're going to save the world,
Right.
is what we're going to do, Sisa. This is an incredibly shocking number, 3% of South Africans. Why is the South African savings landscape so dire?
So firstly, good morning.
Thank
and
you.
Good morning to the viewers. I think we need to also understand that South Africans don't necessarily always save in formal kind of savings vehicles, like savings accounts, right? South Africans have stokvels, for instance. South Africans sometimes put money under the mattress, and that's how they save. Or they save by lending the money out to family or someone in the neighborhood, and that's the kind of savings. So that's the dealing with the 3%. However, we've seen a negative GDP growth, obviously, of 3.2%. Our economy has literally shrunk.
It needs the money.
Right? So you actually need to have the money to be able to save. But also, I think more than that, we need the behavior, the psychology behind the saving to say, I will save before anything. Before I start spending, I decide to save. And some people say, take 10% and make sure you save. But I mean, not everybody has the 10%. So the idea is take what you can and start the saving pattern so that it's inculcated in your behavior, no matter how much you earn.
It's a habit. You want it to become a habit, not a bad habit, but a habit, a habitual part of our lives where we think about it in the right way. How do we start the right habit? How do we get that ball rolling?
So, Graham, I think it's important as individuals to sit with yourself and say, what are my goals, right? Most people I know want to be in a better position in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, in the next 12 months. You might want to travel, you might want to buy a house, you might want to renovate your house.
Kids.
You've got kids.
That just opens up a
You know what I
plethora.
mean? So I think it's important to firstly define what it is that your short-term goals are, your medium-term goals are, and then your long-term goals are. Because you also can't do everything at once. And it's important to not try and do everything at once because it becomes very overwhelming.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that the stove packs up, the fridge packs up.
Life happens, basically.
Life happens. Yeah. It's important to have that little piggy bank that you can't touch. Something like a 32-day notice account, for instance. Something that you can't touch easily, but it's also accessible. And you actually save for that because rainy days do happen. If you're wanting to travel, rather than using your credit card to do that, how about you put money together with whoever you're traveling with
cancel out
or
the debt
yourself? Exactly.
beforehand.
Put it into that 32-day notice account. You know that your money is in there, it's safe, and it's actually growing. You can reinvest your interest, and I mean, your money, you'll never get out less than what you put in. You'll always get out something more.
And it is completely safe there.
Correct.
Life doesn't happen to banks.
It's even safe from you.
Yeah, no, completely. And that's, I mean, you've hit the nail on the head there, from you, us. That's a very personal space. It is our psychology, the relationship we share with money that these habits kind of stem from. So how do we begin to change the way we perceive money, our relationship with money? Where does that start?
So I got a question the other day, and someone said to me, how was your relationship with money 10 years ago? And I said, extremely abusive. I did not respect money, and it's important to understand that if you don't respect money, money will not respect you. Okay, so it's important to honor what you earn. And I know it's such a big word, but honor what you earn.
You've worked hard for it as well.
Right? As much as you want to spoil yourself, as much as you want to buy those new shoes, a friend called me the other day and said, there's a sale, a shoe sale. I'm like, I'm not coming.
Yeah.
Because I know I need to save for a holiday. I know that I'm going on holiday and I need to put that money away. So I think the most important thing is to sit down with yourself, understand what it is that you're trying to achieve financially. And the minute you identify that you've got less at the end of the month than what you should, and you're not making it to the end of the month, there are certain things that you need to look at in your behavior that is probably impacting that.
Well, it's a chicken and egg thing, and I think often we only recognize these in retrospect,
100%.
unfortunately, when it's too late. So what are some of those warning signs? Because maybe a good way to start is just to cut that short circuit the way that pattern is playing out, and a red flag is often the best way to do that. What are some of those warning signs that your relationship with money, I mean, you've mentioned one already now, like, instant gratification because you've earned it. I earned my salary, I want to reward myself with a brand new pair of shoes. How do we, what are some of those warning signs that, okay, this is where I need to put my foot down and make a change?
I think it's very difficult for our generation, Graham, because we are out here living our best life. That's the theme, right? We want to pop champagne. But the minute you're now tapping into personally your credit card to pop that champagne, that's a warning sign. You should probably take out money, because you do need to entertain yourself with your money, right?
But life needs to be enjoyed.
Right? But allocate money and possibly move it into another account or a pocket of your transactional account to say, okay, this is for my entertainment and I can access it.
I like the fact that with my accounts in Nedbank, I can split my pockets and have a very clear idea of what money is for what and where it's going.
And that's your entertainment. And then just as much as you're doing that, take some money and say, you know what, this is for my future. And the red flags are when you're just constantly on this high, the spending roll, and it needs one to take a step back and say, you know what, instead of spending 1,000 Rand on dinner, maybe I'll spend 300 Rand or 500 Rand and take 500 Rand and put it towards future dinners, because 500 Rand is not going to be worth 500 Rand the next 10 years.
A dinner in Croatia, perhaps.
Right.
And just bear in mind that those bottles that are popping in music videos, the person singing did not buy them. Okay?
100%.
They're not their personal bottles.
Correct.
So it's about picking the right account for your lifestyle, for your kind of financial standing. And there are so many vehicles out there, but ultimately we just need a safe place for our money. How do you go about choosing the right account for you, and what are some of those savings accounts available, or the vehicles?
So I think the internet has given us great opportunity to kind of go out and search for things, right? But I'm going to speak particularly to two vehicles that Nedbank offers. For instance, a 12-month fixed deposit where you know you're not going to need this money. And in savings month, you're saying, do you have 1,000 Rand to put away for 12 months? And back to the psychology of savings is, what are you saying to your mind, I'm not going to touch this for 12 months? And that's one.
And I'm telling you, if you do that for 3 or 4 months, you will forget about the amount. It'll become so natural to do that it'll be, okay,
right,
paying myself, 1,000, da-da-da.
Right, and you've got an electronic 32-day notice account where you can open it with as little as 250 Rand. You take 250 Rand and you keep putting 250 Rand and then 100 Rand and then 100 Rand, and you just forget about it. I always make the analogy that when you're trying to have a child and you're told you're pregnant, you're not going to have a child the following day. There's things that prepare you as the child grows, as you're growing a human, right? There are things that you can't do. There's things that's uncomfortable. So you need to understand that as you're growing your life and you're growing your financial security, there's things you can't do. There's things that are going to be uncomfortable. But at the end, what you're going to get is a beautiful life. Yeah.
And I know as we drift into the investment space as well, this will help you learn and practice, get the kind of money that you can invest at a later stage. So it can be the first step towards that. It's just all about respecting. I love the fact that you're treating your money as an individual, your earnings as an individual that you need to build and grow a relationship with. Absolute 100%. Magic. Thank you so much, Han. I feel better already. We can all be successful savers with a little bit
and
of
it's never
planning.
too late.
It is never too late. Do it right now, today. A change in attitude and the right savings account. We all have the ability to save and the tools available to do that. Nedbank has made it pretty easy to invest in our goals with both the Nedbank 32-day and 12-month fixed deposit accounts, charging no monthly fees. That's a big one. Just
and
take
it can
a look
all
at the
be
fees
done
on debt.
app.
Take a look at the fees on debt, just to make it all happen. And the app is amazing. So go and check that out. Visit the Nedbank website at nedbank.co.za to get all of that information. Sisa, you're a legend. Thank you so much. I love you, money. I love you, my money.
Interesting conversation on the psychology
I love
of
you,
money.
my money.
Don't we all love money? We do love money, don't we?
But it doesn't love me. As soon as I get it, it wants to go. I'm like, come back.
You need to go into one of those shows, those Bring Love Back.
What's this?
Anyway, anyway, we were
That
talking
one.
Do
about.
you save for your holidays?
I don't save for my holidays, but because I'm constantly saving naturally.
Already as it is.
It's
yeah.
like funds are more often than not always there to travel should I
Yeah.
want to, because I think I'm quite a thrifty spender. There are a few things that I spend on,
Yeah.
like and
Such as
cringe
what?
afterwards, like yes, I
Yeah.
love shoes, but in general I'm actually quite cool with just like having
keeping
my
money
money
away.
in the bank, doing its thing in
Yeah.
investments, just
Yeah.
doing its thing. I don't want
Yeah.
to see you.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
recently went away on holiday. Had you saved for it?
I actually didn't save for it.
Yeah.
It literally just jumped at me. I was just going through, the internet one day. I saw a
Wow.
package.
Hi.
It was like, hi. I saw a package and I was like, ooh, I want to do that. And then I got to go. So I feel like if I did save for it, I'd end up using the money for something else.
See, that's why
Yeah.
you need to lock it away, like in a 12-month
Yeah.
account where
Yeah.
you can't access it.
But now then that deal comes, hey, and then you're like, 12 months.
No,
problem
but then you
is,
still have
though-
funds in your bank account wants to just get the, like if
Yeah.
it's just the ticket, you get the ticket, but then the 12 months is building up.
Yeah. But also the problem with going based on just like a deal that you're seeing and you hadn't saved for and you just spend on it is when you come back, you've spent all that money and you've got nothing left. So as if you saved, you
Yeah.
know that this will be for the holiday, this will sustain me for when I come back.
But
from
there's
the
also
holiday.
just like living life. Just